Hello everyone and welcome to my first video tutorial. This time we will cover SSTOs, which mean single stage to orbit and are defined by that, so they only have one stage and no decouplers or anything like that, and are usually just a plane or much rather a space plane, and you want to get it into orbit without any rocket support. So I've started with the Mark 1 cockpit, added some adapter and a cargo bay, then an extra fuselage and a bicoupler to have the two nerve engines on the back. I also added adapters to the size of it so I can put some Rapier engines on there. The Rapier engines will be the air-breathing engines, which I will use in the atmosphere to get to some altitude where I can then activate the nuclear engines. And you see here I just added another two of the Rapiers because this will be kind of a heavy plane and you really need the extra thrust. Also, the Rapier engines don't have that much thrust as the power jet engines do, so we want to have 4 of them. So yeah. Anyway, now you see me adding some extra wings. These will come in handy much later in the video. You will see me making lots of little tweaks such as this because I want to have a very high efficiency of the plane, and for a high efficiency we will need a lot of accuracy. So this is just what I'm doing here. I've sped up the whole process at 2 times regular speed, so the whole plane took me like 30 minutes to build. I also took the basic design from a YouTuber called Hazard Dish. I will link his profile in the description, and I would suggest you check him out because he makes some awesome plane designs and stuff. So yeah, just check that out. Again, some small tweakings here, and I think this won't need any further explanation, so I will just be quiet until we get to the next point. Now here you see the center of lift, and you obviously noticed that it's pointing downwards now, so we will have to flip the plane upside down to fix that. I will do that in a little while, but for now we just don't care about that. We would rather have a plane which covers these empty spots there, and also the more wing surface you have, the more lift you will gain. So this is a plane which has a lot of lift surface. Now what you can see, the center of lift is in front of the center of mass, which will be fixed later, but it's pointing upwards again, which was basically the only thing to worry about for now. As you can see, with the more surface layers I add there, the further backwards is my center of lift going, so we will have to add way more wing surface to actually put the center of lift behind the center of mass, which is where it just has to be. The center of lift generally has to be very close to the center of mass, but slightly behind, so the airplane or the plane, space plane, whatever, will fly just fine. We are adding way more surface control here. Flip it down and add some more wings. So what I forgot in my video was the fuselage from the outer part where the Rapier engines are attached to the Nerve engines. You will see that later. It doesn't matter that much because you can always have the manual fuel control when you are alt right clicking on your parts, and then you can balance your fuel. But anyway, in this video I just forgot the fuselage, so you will see in the flight later on that the Nerve engines are running on pretty low fuel. Also, with these wings I just am attaching right now, I forgot to add some struts, so they will be very wobbly and unstable, and you can easily fix that with some struts just attached to the engine, or rather the fuselage tank, fuel tank. That's what I wanted to say. Sorry. So now we are just tweaking again and adding some more wings. In some seconds you will see me trying to push some wings forward, but that just failed, and I don't know, I'm not the best designer of planes generally, so yeah, I just tried to make this look pretty good. So yeah, I just dumped that and I'm adding more surface control. You should see that the center of lift is moving a little bit each time I'm adding a new wing part there, and it's coming more to the back the more wing parts I'm adding. So now the only thing which is left to do is adding some surface control, which I will do in just a minute, so we can actually control our pitch and yaw and our roll. But these are just for the pitch, generally speaking. So we are adding the big 11.3s on there, putting the Mark II 11s right on the side, and having some Mark I parts as well further at the left and right sides. Flip it around, just did the same thing on the upper part, lower part of the plane, and tweaking a little bit again. And you see me fucking up a little bit there, but whatever, just fixing that and adding more surface control. Generally speaking, the more surface control panels you have, the easier it is for you to pitch up or down. And what's cool about this design is that it will have very nice pitch controls, so it will be airborne at around 60 meters per second. Of course, when you hit that speed, you will be able to lift off and fly upwards to the atmosphere, out of the atmosphere, I hope. So you just saw that the center of lift is now almost identical in its origin to the center of mass, and we're just adding one more surface layer there, so that the center of lift will be slightly behind the center of mass, and we should have just accomplished right that. Now adding more ailerons for the yaw, tweaking that a little bit so we have that control, and we will also add some standard wings also for the yaw control, which is just, I don't know, it's not really useful anymore because we have more than we need, but it's just for the looks, so we will have that. Also make sure to use the right modes when you are attaching your parts, because when you use the radial mode, I think it is the radial mode. Yeah, when you have the radial mode, your parts won't lock to any other parts, and you can tweak them way better. But the thing is that when you have that mode attached, you are more eager to make any mistakes. Now what you see me doing there is tweaking with the oxidizer, because we won't need a lot of it. We will just have around, I don't know, I hope I edited it so that I will just have around 200 oxidizer in my craft, but I think I've overshot that a little bit, but that doesn't matter that much. It's just extra weight which you have to carry into orbit, and the more weight you have, the harder it is for your craft to get there anyway. So now we have our action groups. In the brakes action groups, I just put my ailerons there and push the extend, so they will just brake and act as an air brake. On the 1 key I have my air breathing or closed cycle toggle. On the 2 I have my toggle engines, and on 3 I have my toggle the nerve engines. I'm putting some electricity gainage into the cargo bay, and now let's try to fly this thing. So we are now on the runway, and you'll immediately see that my wings are pretty unstable. Anyway, I will just try to get this into orbit. I didn't have much hopes to do this, but I tried anyway, and I actually succeeded. Now you can see that the lift is pretty nice. We just had a velocity of like 60 meters per second, and we already took off, so this is always a nice thing to have. So anyway, the next thing we will have to do is gain altitude. We want to level out at like 15,000 meters. I've seen people do it at like 10,000, but I think the higher you can get, and then level out, the better it is. A lot of people are doing it at 20,000 meters, which is like perfect, but you will lose your ability to yaw at those altitudes because the air is much thinner and you have low controls, of course. Still just gaining altitude. We're not really picking up any speed, but that's okay. I'm flying this is at an angle of like 30 degrees, which should be suitable, I guess. And I'll just be quiet until we get to that point. Now this is where the wobbling starts, which can of course be solved by some extra struts, as I just said in the assembly. You should really add some at the wings, so they are detached to both parts of the back end of the wings, so they are really connected to the lower and to the upper part. As of now they are just connected to the lower part and are wobbling around quite heavily, as you can see. I was quite surprised that they didn't break, but yeah, we made it back in one piece. It seems like I've leveled out a little bit earlier than I said in the beginning. This is all post-recorded, so I'm sorry for that. But anyway, we have a lot of speed now. We are trying to pitch up, so we are now trying to get out of the atmosphere, and we are at over 1000 meters per second right now. We still need a little bit more. And you can see in the top left, our apoapsis height is still rising, and the more it is rising, the better for us, of course. We have to get to at least a height of 70 kilometers. Now you hear my engines start losing thrust because the air is way too thin, so I just toggled them to closed cycle, so they are using the oxidizer now. I also activated the nuclear engines as well, and this should bring us to an altitude which is suitable for us. The rapiers just ran out of oxidizer, which is okay. Our apoapsis height is at 80,000 meters now, and we can start to circularize, and I'm just using the control nodes. And you also want to start your burn so that you have half of the time from your burn before and half of the time after your control point of which you should be burning. Anyway, time speeding up now. Now we have ended our burn to get back into the atmosphere, and I'm using this mod, which I will link in the description, to make better entries, because this mod is also calculating the forces which come from the inside the atmosphere, and it tries to compensate for that so you don't overshoot or undershoot, which I still do because I'm a noob. But anyway, now we are just trying to slow us down with the help of the atmosphere again. We are at 30,000 meters, and you start to see our nuclear reactors are overheating a bit, so make sure to get into a very shallow re-entry, because if you are hitting the atmosphere like a brick, you will quite certainly explode. Of course, the Mark I cockpit isn't the best cockpit for SSTOs, because it just can withstand temperatures of up to 2000 degrees. I don't know what it's called, Celsius maybe, with a K for Kerbal. And the Mark II parts can withstand 2400, so they are way more durable. As you can see, we still overshot, but that's no problem. We have tons of liquid fuel left, so we will just make it back to the KST just fine. Turning around when we are slowed down enough, because I'm still not too sure about our wings exploding from the G-forces if we just turn around right now. So I will just wait and very slowly try to turn. So our turn was successful, and our wings are still wobbling as hell. So again, just put a few struts on there and you should be fine. We are firing our rapiers again and are making our way back to the KSC. And by the looks of it, Jeb is pretty happy about our situation. He at least made it to orbit and back, and we will also land at the KSC. The best thing about those SSTOs is that when you land at the KSC, you will get 100% of the funds back which you sent up into orbit. Of course, you won't get those when you are flying a rocket because of the part separation. You will have to suffer monetary losses when you, for example, have the biggest engines. I think it's not the Rhino. It's I don't even know what the name is, but you know what I'm meaning. So when you're deploying these, I mean when you decouple it by stage separation, you are basically just throwing away money because those engines are quite expensive. And now we are ascending. The runway is right before us. I have lowered my gear, I am putting on the brakes, and you see quite nicely here that the surface, the control surface panels are acting as a air brake as well. Coming in, pitching up, and we landed. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave comments down below, suggestions what could be made better. Criticism is always welcome. And stay tuned for more Kerbal Space Program tutorials.